Local bars and restaurants are returning to business after a key decision rolled out of Lansing last week. Donnie Eade has more details.
For businesses like the Paradise Bar in ISHPEMING, the ruling couldn't have come soon enough.
Unfortunately, that this COVID has affected everybody many negative ways, but man, it's been hard on us small businesses, especially us bars, and it's just been brutal.
State officials confirmed more than 129,000 coronavirus cases today. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services also says more than 6,800 people have died from COVID-19. This is an increase of more than 900 cases and 22 deaths from yesterday. Focusing on the Upper Peninsula, where 79 new cases and 3 deaths were reported. This brings the UP total to more than 2,800 cases and 42 deaths. The largest uptick in cases was in Dickinson County, which saw a 22 case increase, followed by Houghton adding 14 cases today. The MDHHS issued an emergency public health order. As COVID-19 numbers continue to rise, many corrections officers at the Marquette Branch Prison are unable to work because they either got COVID-19 or were near someone who tested positive. Now the Michigan Department of Corrections is stepping in to help.
For the brief period of time while staff are being treated or off for a variety of reasons due to COVID or not following the rules, we're going to have staff from our emergency response team come in.
The Department of Veterans Affairs suspended sending patient statements regarding copays to veterans. Those fees were not waived. They were only deferred, meaning veterans will begin receiving statements in January 2021. Good news for anyone who has bottles and cans piling up. Michigan residents can now recycle them and get their 10-cent deposit. All grocery stores, supermarkets, convenience stores, gas stations, and other return facilities must resume collecting recyclables and refunding customer deposits effective immediately, according to the Michigan Department of Treasury. Positive COVID-19 tests have 2 ISHPEMING schools temporarily changing the way they will teach students. ISHPEMING's middle and high schools are both moving to distance or remote learning until November 2nd. Contact tracing after 2 students tested positive for COVID-19 led to the move. The schools felt it was in the best interest to take the safest approach.
The number of students that are out right now because of either on quarantine or isolation with symptoms or exposure, we decided to take a conservative approach and make a decision to close the middle school and high school just to prevent any further exposure during this time.
Also this evening, ABC 10 has learned that Dickinson County schools will shift to online classes until the end of the month. The Dickinson Iron District Health Department has been monitoring cases in that area and made the recommendation. North Dickinson's football game against Ontonagon was canceled tonight as the health recommendations include all sporting events. Families who use the lunch program should contact the school Monday. The school will put together care packages for students beginning Wednesday, October 21st. According to the Iron Mountain Daily News, early this afternoon, Iron Mountain Public Schools, Breading Township Schools, and Norway Vulcan School District have all notified students and families they would shift to virtual learning until October 30th. Need a mask? United Way of Marquette County has got you covered. Connor Sturgill has more on an event happening this weekend. Connor?
Make a difference. That is what members of the nonprofit United Way aim to do this Saturday for the community.
Marquette food producers are dishing up a new way to celebrate a yearly festival. Marquette's local food fest is moving online. Although many festivals have been canceled or postponed, organizers feel it is especially important to highlight local food sources during the pandemic.
System is really important, and resiliency and where we get our food and having sovereignty over these food choices just feels like a really important topic in the midst of everything going on. So although we didn't want to gather in person, we understand that our mission and our goals that we've set up through the years are only becoming more and more prominent and more needed.
Local officials want the public to know why coronavirus cases are increasing. The Marquette County Health Department says some of the factors that may have contributed to the spike in cases within the county include Birchview Elementary in ISHPEMING is moving their 4th grade online for 2 weeks. The school made the decision after a student tested positive for COVID-19. In a press release, the ISHPEMING superintendent said, quote, Please stay calm for the sake of your students. A doctor at Helen Newberry Joy Hospital tested positive for COVID-19. The hospital made the announcement earlier today and sent a press release that says, quote, "An update on a story we brought you earlier this week, Birchview Elementary School in ISHPEMING will be closed until Wednesday, November 11th. Firearm deer hunting season starts on Sunday, and state officials want hunters to stay safe as COVID-19 numbers continue to rise. COVID-19 affects schools in the area, so one local bank is investing in helping the students. Range Bank has donated $8,000 worth of school supplies across the Upper Peninsula. As the Upper Peninsula heads towards 10,000 COVID-19 cases, I spoke with the Marquette County Health Department to find out how the new emergency orders will affect the Upper Peninsula.
The important take-home message is that we have community-wide spread and that the illness can be presented as asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic. So you have to assume that anyone that you come in contact with in the community could potentially be a carrier of COVID-19.
We are very concerned that, children being pulled in and out of school, or, just people not being able to access the care that they need, even if it's just out of fear of catching the virus, that their social determinants of health later on in the next few years are going to see a decline.
Local frontline workers have been battling the COVID-19 pandemic in the Upper Peninsula. Reporter Donnie Eade shows us that as cases continue to rise, so does the appreciation for those workers in our community. Donnie?
Healthcare workers across the country have been working tirelessly on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. As cases continue to surge, it appears the fight against coronavirus is far from over. So, local car dealership Fox Marquette decided to show their appreciation for the men and women at UPHS Marquette by treating them to a free lunch.
As the weather changes and the pandemic continues, it's important to be safe while you are outdoors. The Michigan Liquor Control Commission issued an emergency suspension. A local nursing home is reporting a COVID-19 outbreak among its staff and residents. Mission Point of ISHPEMING says 43 out of the 48 residents have tested positive for the coronavirus. 5 residents of the nursing home have died and 2 recovered, according to a press release. 24 staff members also tested positive, 10 of which recovered. A pop-up COVID-19 testing site will be available in Baraga next Tuesday, according to the Keweenaw Bay Indian community. Congress appears to be making little progress towards agreeing on a coronavirus relief agreement. The momentum behind the COVID-19 relief bill last week seems to be losing steam across party lines today. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell accused Democratic leaders of blocking progress. The fresh uncertainty over negotiations plunged the stock market into the red shortly after he spoke. At stake is unemployment benefits, an eviction moratorium, and crucial aid to local governments that are looking for relief from the social, economic, and physical impacts of COVID-19. Tonight, Congress remains divided on how to distribute funding before lifelines expire at the end of the month. Congressional leaders are stressing the importance of approving a rescue package that prevents 12 million Americans from losing unemployment benefits and stopping families across the country from getting tossed out of their homes. Senator Gary Peters spoke about the importance of COVID-19 relief.
We must pass a COVID relief bill. I mean, that's a must pass. So we're going to do everything we can to get that done. And too many people are struggling and hurting right now. We've got to take care of that first. People are struggling. Many folks are finding it difficult to keep food on the table, a roof over their head. We've got high levels of unemployment. So a priority for me is to make sure we extend those unemployment benefits, also have some additional funds available for folks in unemployment. We've got small businesses that have been impacted in a major way, and we have to make sure they survive.
Another issue in Congress is vaccine distribution after an FDA emergency use approval of a COVID-19 vaccine. One of the challenges with the Pfizer vaccine is properly shipping and storing it at negative 94 degrees.
Some of these vaccines, which have to be kept at very cold temperatures, and that presents a whole set of problems. And then we want to make sure that we get it into the rural areas, and many rural areas, whether in northern Michigan or the Upper Peninsula. Our folks who live in the UP know that logistics is even more difficult, and not everybody has these very, very cold refrigeration units. So we've got to solve those problems, and we have to solve them quickly.
For now, at least one issue that also faced a series of delays seems to have made some progress. Earlier today, the Senate approved and the president signed a 1-week temporary funding measure to keep the government from shutting down at midnight tonight. While this does buy Congress some time for talks, the clock is ticking to help Americans out of work, in the hospital, or wondering what will happen next.